2008, the Americans with Disabilities Act was amended. Effective 2009, it took a couple of years to filter from employment down to higher ed. So for a while, we all hunkered down and said, what is this going to mean? Let's just watch. We trained, we talked to our general counsels, we talked to experts in the field, and just sort of said, let's wait and see. Because the new ADA has a very different thrust than the old ADA. The new ADA was specific in saying we want the broadest possible coverage of the law. We don't want to be strict gatekeepers. We don't want to be involved in stringent statistical analysis to find out if someone is disabled or not, to find out are they significantly impaired as compared to most people in the general population. Well, does that mean a statistical average? Do we have to look at how far off an average someone is? Those are the things we used to be told to do. Now we're told no. You want to look at the broadest possible coverage, you want to be more lenient in the documentation you require, and more flexible in the decisions. So it completely upended how most offices were making their decisions, and there are some universities that caved completely in response to that and said, you know what, all takers, come in, tell me who you are, tell me what you need, and we'll give it to you. And that would not be inconsistent with the statutory language of the ADAA, Americans with Disabilities Amendments Act. We decided that that was not consistent with how our university operates, and that we would still require disability documentation. We would still have a substantive discussion with the student. What changed is now we are involving the students more, so we can often work with less documentation. We can have a student come and talk to us and tell us what's going on, backed up by less stringent documentation, and then we are more likely to say, okay, we'll give an accommodation a try, or let's do provisional for the semester and see how you do, or let's do provisional while you go out and get more documentation. So we are, well, I wouldn't say warm and fuzzy, we are warmer and fuzzier than we have been in the past. And I know that you've heard complaints about us from students who've said, I keep going and they keep saying no. Well, we're less likely to say no outright now. We're more likely to say, let's see what we can work with and let's see what we can do. But rest assured that we're not giving away the farm. We are still holding academic standards very dear. We're talking to faculty. We're finding out whether these accommodations are reasonable. That hasn't changed. The accommodations we're clearing haven't changed. But the amount of people that we're saying okay to has changed. Which brings me to this first handout. This was prepared for, so many of you have heard it, for a presentation to the provosts and to the deans. This is the impact on our numbers. Because last year was the first year, academic year 12-13, was the first year that everybody felt the impact in higher education of the ADAA. For a while we've been watching, our numbers were creeping up, but last summer the Association for Higher Education and Disability handed down their guidelines for how to interpret the ADAA, and they were off the wall in terms of what they said we should do. But when we changed our approach, we noticed that the numbers rocketed up. It took a full year for us to get through the students and be able to take a breath and count and look back and see what had happened. So I did a review going back 5 years. You have 3 of those 5 years. So you can see the impact of the ADAA in academic year 12-13. We went up by 70%. These are new file reviews. This isn't our total caseload. These are the new students who came in with new files to review, or old students who came back with new documentation that we had said no to and came back with more. So we had to deal with 70% increase in the number of students that we reviewed, and you can see that it's quite different from the previous 2 years. We said yes. Instead of saying no to 35% of these students, we said yes or maybe to probably 80%. So, it was a lot of accommodation letters, and how many of you heard from faculty, or how many of you are faculty, who said, oh my God, I used to have 1 student in my class of 50, now I have 10. And you're telling me I have to arrange separate rooms, computers, scribes, all this stuff. Where did these students come from? That was the climate in which the federal class action lawsuit that brought me here emerged. So it was a kind of a scary thing, because when faculty start to get nervous about this and then they start to say no, I can't do this, you're asking too much of me. When faculty start to say no, and it's understandable, because we are asking a lot, then students and their parents begin to contact attorneys. And we don't want that. So that's why we did this review and took it to the provost and the dean's council and everybody else. And we have sought assistance from associate deans in various schools to help spread the weight of this a little bit. So a number of schools have stepped up and said, we will help our faculty in locating rooms and locating proctors, in particular in smaller departments where people may not have graduate students to proctor. Various deans that we've talked to across the university have stepped up with that. So we're very grateful, because that gives us something to tell a faculty member who feels burdened, that no, we understand, we still have to do what's right, but this office can help you, this dean can help you. So, you know, we're grateful to our partners and mindful of the fact that it is a burden on faculty. We did write a faculty resource guide. We were told we can't say faculty handbook, but it is a faculty resource guide, which I believe is on our website now. Nick, is it?
I believe so.
It's on our website, but you have to sign into it using your Kerberos password, because we don't want it to be for student consumption or for public consumption. It's for faculty, it's for you guys to understand more about, you know, your responsibilities. It has some FAQs, it has a lot of information. We wrote that specifically with faculty input. We polled about 40 faculty and got a lively discussion going about what are their concerns, what are their issues, and what kind of help do you need. So we're being as responsive to faculty as I think we can be. I'm considering putting together some focus groups of faculty and students and administrators, and you know, a lot of it is just dealing with the volume of students in the office and having enough time to do it. I should tell you that the numbers this year are tracking exactly as they were last year. So last year was not a blip. That, you know, it was a real impact, and you know, we've now had a year and a half to deal with this. So you know, I think I'm comfortable saying that it's certainly not getting any lower.